Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping into a pretty wild frontier of neuroscience to unlock one of the most mysterious, mind-bending capabilities of the human brain. We are going to explore a very real biological phenomenon that forces us to question the very fabric of how we actually experience the physical world around us.
Picture this. You're listening to your absolute favorite song, and suddenly your mouth is flooded with the distinct, sweet taste of strawberries. Or imagine looking at a completely plain black and white page of text. But your brain is wired in such a way that the number 4 literally radiates a bright, glowing blue light. For the vast majority of us, that sounds like pure science fiction, right? But for a select group of people with a slightly different neural architecture, this isn't magic. It's just their ordinary, everyday reality.
Okay, let's dive into this. This phenomenon is called synesthesia. Simply put, it's a profound cross-wiring of the senses. When one sensory pathway is triggered, say hearing a sound or reading a number, it automatically, effortlessly fires off a completely different sensory experience, like seeing a color or feeling a physical texture. The key here is that it's not something these individuals have to consciously think about or imagine. It's an automatic, physical blending of their senses happening deep within their biology.
Now, for decades, this presented a massive scientific problem. Researchers were staring at a fundamental question that challenged our entire grasp of perception. They had to know, are these cross-wired experiences a genuine physiological reality happening in the brain, or are these individuals just relying on a highly vivid memory, an active imagination, or maybe even a form of hallucination? To separate a constructed internal reality from a physical one, scientists needed concrete, undeniable proof. Essentially, they needed to set a trap for the brain. To find that proof, researchers set up an incredibly elegant psychological trap. The premise is really simple. Ask a person to name the color of the ink a word is printed in, and ignore the word itself. But for a synesthete who naturally sees the number 4 as red, showing them a 4 printed in physical green ink creates a massive traffic jam in their brain. The physical green ink on the page clashes violently with the automatic red color their brain is producing. This is known as the cognitive Stroop effect. The reaction times slow way down compared to the rest of us, strongly suggesting that their internal colors are absolutely automatic and genuinely interfere with physical reality.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how scientists took things to the absolute next level, escalating the rigor with a brilliant experiment using pupillometry. Think about how your eye naturally works. When you step into bright sunlight, your pupil physically contracts to let in less light, right? It's an automatic, involuntary reflex. So researchers placed synesthetes in a dark room, showed them plain black numbers on a screen, and simply measured their pupils with highly sensitive cameras. The catch? The synesthetes reported that some of these black numbers appeared to them as bright colors, like glowing yellow, while others appeared as dark colors, like deep blue.
The findings here were absolutely mind-blowing. The cameras proved that when a synesthete looked at a black number that the brain perceived as a bright color, their physical pupils actually contracted. Think about that for a second. Their physical eyes were reacting to a bright light that did not exist in the physical room. It only existed inside their neural pathways. Plus, this physiological reflex happened way too fast to be a product of conscious imagination. It proved definitively that synesthesia is an effortless, genuine perceptual reality.
And this brilliantly illustrates where science is taking this next. Because synesthetes often have enhanced attention and memory as a result of these extrasensory layers, engineers are taking this natural biological phenomenon and using it to inspire cutting-edge technology. They're actually creating artificial synesthesia. Scientists are pairing electronic noses with virtual reality headsets, literally writing algorithms that detect invisible chemical odors in the air and instantly translating them into glowing, colored shapes right in a person's visual field.
This concept of a sensory substitution pathway is no longer just some medical curiosity. It's a groundbreaking blueprint for human-machine interfaces. By feeding data from artificial sensors through a coupling device and presenting it to a totally different human sense, we can bypass our natural biological limits. We are essentially building entirely new artificial senses for humans, allowing us to perceive the invisible data of our world by piggybacking on the brain's incredible natural ability to cross-wire information.
But to understand how we can replicate this with machines, we have to look at the mechanics of how the human brain naturally does this in the first place. The leading scientific explanation is the neural pruning theory. Think of a newborn infant's brain like a wildly overgrown garden. There are neural connections bridging all the different sensory areas together. Normally, as we grow, the brain acts as a gardener, neatly pruning away these cross-connections so that vision, hearing, and taste become cleanly separated. But in synesthetes, The gardener skips a few branches. Those pathways survive into adulthood, leaving their sensory regions permanently organically linked.
So the crucial point is what this biological quirk reveals about the actual nature of human consciousness. A synesthete looking at a page sees a number as dark gray ink, while simultaneously experiencing it as a glowing blue light. They effortlessly navigate a physical external reality and a completely constructed internal reality at the exact same moment, without the two canceling each other out. This dual reality completely shatters our most fundamental scientific frameworks of how the brain generates a unified, singular conscious experience.
Which brings us to a deeply mind-bending implication. If the human brain is capable of effortlessly generating extra physiological sensations, like vivid colors that simply aren't there, and overlaying them flawlessly onto the physical world, then what does that say about the rest of our senses? It strongly suggests that everything we see, hear, and feel isn't just a passive recording of the outside universe. Instead, it's a highly curated, active construction by our brains. It is essentially a seamless, controlled hallucination that we all just agree to call reality.
Which leaves us with a profound, almost unsettling question to reflect on. We rely entirely on our senses to tell us what is real and what is true. But if synesthesia scientifically proves that the brain can actively paint completely different, yet physically measurable layers of reality for different people, then what is objective reality really? Does it even exist outside of our individual neural architecture? It's a fascinating thought to carry with you. Keep questioning what you perceive.